are back. Theology Throwdown with my good friend, Pastor Ray Heupel. Two brothers from different mothers and different theological backgrounds, going at one another, trying to KO each other's doctrine. I'm so glad to be back with you, man.
I'm glad to be here, Jay. It's always fun being on this show.
Let's do it. Let's jump right into it. Can divine sovereignty and free will truly coexist, or are we dancing with a paradox or just simply denying logic?
All right, Jay, let me start the clock.
Start the clock.
And I want to say, yes, they can coexist, and they do exist. You know, we have a chapter in the Westminster Confession, which is the most mature presentation of Reformation, Reformed theology, Calvinism, whatever you want to call it. We have a chapter on free will, and it talks about how we are free to do whatever we want. But that's the problem. You know, we're dead in trespasses and sins, and we're always going to want to run from God. It's not that God is up there, you know, pushing people away. I believe if all God ever did was offer, nobody would be saved. He has to actually do a work in their soul first. He's got to do a work in their heart first, and then they come. And so the idea of God's sovereignty and free will. Again, I think there's this idea, and I think that it's expressed often, I'll just say the other camp, that free will is kind of like this indifference, that I have to be indifferent, you know. And if you're totally indifferent, you're like the donkey between two barrels of hay, you're going to starve. You've got to have an inclination towards something in order to make a willful decision, in order to make a meaningful decision. If I don't care about ice cream at all, it doesn't matter what you give me. But if I like one, if I desire one, if I'm inclined to one, if I will more to the one, then am I free to choose that or not? And again, I go back to the sinner who's dead in trespasses and sins, who's living according to the lusts of the flesh, the desires even of the mind. He's completely bent against God. Every desire of his heart is only evil continually. That's all of us until we are converted. And so the free will that we have is bound in sin. He who is a slave of sin is free from righteousness, but he who is freed from sin is a slave unto righteousness. So I'll stop there.
Well, I can't really go yet.
I'm generous. I'm a generous
You're a gentleman
Calvinist.
and a scholar. A gentleman and a scholar. Thank you, Brother Calvin. I appreciate it. It's Giorgio's turn.
Let's go.
It's Giorgio's turn in the house. All right, Ephesians chapter 2.
Yes.
I think that's something that's real important. I think it's the way that we interpret. I think it's the way we interpret it, though. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourself. It's the gift of God. Now, if I hear you correctly, that you believe that faith is what God ignites within you.
It is the gift of God.
The faith. Okay, now, all right, you ready? We want to get some Greek and Hebrew right now.
Let's do it.
Okay, now the Greek word for faith there is in the feminine.
Faith is a feminine word. Pistis.
The word that is in the neuter, which means it cannot, in that, if it was meant, that was speaking of faith, it would have spoken of, that would have been in the feminine as well.
Not always, but usually. I'll give you usually.
So when he's speaking here, for by grace you have been saved, and that not of yourself, he's speaking the gift that by grace you've been saved. He's talking about you've been saved through, because grace and faith are what it takes. He's talking about salvation here. That is not of yourself. The salvation, not the faith part.
Gotcha.
The salvation is not of yourself.
I'm going to say all of it's of yourself, but I don't want to interrupt your time.
No, that's okay. No, we good. We got time. That's what I want. I want you to get in on this, because that's why he said not of works, lest anyone should boast. So I believe what happens to the believer, does free will and sovereignty happen all the same? Without a doubt. God is sovereign, and I believe he gives an element of grace, a window of opportunity, and says, listen, if you choose to believe what you've heard, grace will empower you for salvation. And therefore, because you can't have faith until you hear. Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word. So you can't have faith until you hear something, unless Romans chapter 10 is incorrect. So you have to have faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So you hear the word. Now, as a result, you have the ability, the grace to believe. If you do it, it carries to salvation. So God's sovereignty reaches down, says you're going to be saved. You cut me off. So God's sovereignty reaches down. No, I'm just kidding. God's sovereignty reaches down and says, okay, here's the word. Here's an opportunity. Your will has to link with it and produce a salvation.
All right. Now, again, I can't check my Greek here. I'm going to trust you. But I do know that grace also is feminine. Soterion is salvation. And that's masculine. And so that would be a reason why, great, but you have a neuter So the neuter would cover both the feminine and the masculine, is what I'm saying. I think the neuter is the right choice. By grace, you have been saved through faith. So you have feminine, masculine, feminine, and then neuter to cover both.
But if it would have been, that would have been in the, if it's speaking of
It's
faith,
speaking of all of it.
I believe it's
Grace
speaking of
is
salvation.
I think grace is the gift of God. Salvation, of course, is the gift of God. Faith is the gift of God.
But you're talking about what's not of yourself.
And that's
salvation.
not of yourselves.
Salvation, that's why the
Well, the
and the
grace
salvation
isn't
are
of
masculine.
yourself either. The grace isn't of yourself.
No, it's not. But we're
And
talking
that's
about
feminine.
Right. But what I'm saying is that but it's not speaking of the faith part. Come
we
on.
made a mistake getting into the Greek without having it in front of us. Well, I just think, again, that whole thing is of God. But you have to believe that faith ultimately is the gift of God. I mean, God gives you faith, right?
Well, of course, but it comes by hearing. So, I mean, before you hear, you got to hear the word.
Yes.
It's not like God comes down and illuminates you and then you hear.
No, he
Faith
opens
comes
your
by hearing.
heart like Lydia. He opens your
He
heart.
opens your heart.
To receive.
But
Until that
you
point,
can say
you were
no,
like-
though.
you
You
were
can
like,
be
no.
open. You don't believe that there are people that can actually be open to, like God comes to them and he opens up a portal and a window of opportunity for them to step in. And if they choose to go, wonderful. If they don't choose to go, that is their choice. You believe that
It's
if he
always
opens
their
it,
choice.
well, that's my point. That's what I'm
always their
saying. That
choice.
because when we talk about regeneration and things like
Yes.
that, sovereignty and free will.
Yes.
So sovereignty opens it up for you. Free will walks through it. That's how I view it. Not God sovereignly says, here's your free will, it's open door, you're going into this.
And again, free will was lost in the fall in the sense of, I am now a sinner. Adam wasn't a sinner before he sinned.
He exercised it to
He did exercise
free
it.
will.
And now he's bound in sin, and his wife was bound in sin, and we're all born bound in sin, and we deserve to go to hell. And so that level of freedom doesn't exist in a spiritually dead person, which Adam was not. And so we can't, a comparison to Adam isn't a one-on-one comparison. We're dead in sins because of what he did. He was sinless. You have to agree with that. Adam was sinless.
Yeah.
So the choice for him is different.
But think about it. All right, he's there. He's in the garden. We finally got here after all these episodes.
Yes.
He finally got there. He's in the garden, and he's presented with something outside of the will of God.
Yes.
He makes a choice,
Yes.
knowing nothing of sin, to side with the devil instead of. Why doesn't it take? And what happened? Once he sided with Satan, he became something different.
Yes.
It's the same way now. We hear the gospel, we choose to make a decision, and we side.
But see,
it's the same thing.
But we're post Adam now. We're in the
it's
became
still the
something
same
different
process.
category. We hear it, and we hear it as an enemy. We hear it as shrill sounds. We hear
It
it
was
as
an enemy
bow
in
the
the
knee.
garden.
No, it was an opportunity. It wasn't an enemy. I mean, the gospel, the right choice, not the bad choice. The bad choice we like. We want the sinful choice. That's to be bound in
But they
sin.
didn't know it was sinful at the time.
They knew it
Agreed?
was sinful.
Well, no, I mean, like, they didn't know about the sin nature and the sin and all. They just thought they were going to be like
In
God.
the day you eat of it, you shall die.
But they didn't know anything
knew.
of death.
I think they knew.
We don't know anything of righteousness.
I think a sinless mind understands death better than a sinful mind. I think Adam and Eve knew for. God put them in the garden to guard it, it says, to tend it and to keep it. Shemer, guard it. So there's an enemy out there, Adam, and Adam knows that.
Let me give you the last 40 seconds right here.
Right.
If God can come in and illuminate your heart,
Yes.
and then your free will, why can't Satan do the same thing then to a fallen person?
What do you mean?
Well, if God can come in and just say, hey, you're going to serve me, I know, you're going to serve me, and then therefore you're going to go, Satan can come and just inhabit who he wants. If God can come and inhabit who he wants, so can Satan.
No, Satan
Because
can
you
only
have to give up free will.
Satan only can do what he wants to do, or Satan can only do what God allows him to do. Satan is a creature; he can't do any. And in fact, remember when the demons wanted to go in the pigs? They said to Jesus, "Permit us to go." They couldn't
Right.
even go into pigs unless Jesus let them.
But it took the will. I know we don't have any more
I
time to
think
go
we're
into
missing
it.
each other
No.
somehow. We're missing it because I'm not sure what you're saying. I don't think you're
Well, I
getting
think
what
I'm going into something too deep, and we don't have the time to get it. Maybe we'll have to hit on that next
gonna
time
stay in
because
the-
I want to go in that Adam zone.
I want to stay in the shallow water. I think. I don't know.
You only know nothing but deep waters. That's all you know. This is the deep waters.
Deep waters.
We're getting in on it. So,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fun time once again. Man, you'll have to make your own decision and choose what you choose to believe in this moment. But we'll see you next time right here on Theology Throwdown.